container, a second glass, deep, cup-like, and not flat. You can't get a straight plate to put oil on. It needs to be a long, oblong type. You ever see what I mean? Oblong type of container. And how we want it to burn is make sure that it burns for 8 days. Each time you have to finish it, relight it and store it in the air. The halacha of lighting the candles in the menorah at the proper height, the proper type of wick to be used, the proper oil, or kosher wax for candles. Both are alike in the sense of being kosher. Kosher wax candle is kosher, and all the oil is kosher. Best, of course, is mitzvah and amucha. The top mitzvah is olive oil. And still better is olive oil from it, because that's where the miracle took place. Now, in America, we have a problem. Question about what about the electric menorahs? You see them in such vast numbers throughout the entire city, throughout the entire country, wherever there are Jews. At the same time, it's a very warm feeling to see that. You know, if you look at a big building of hundreds of tenants, and you see that everywhere is they're not the flicker. It's another thing. It's a steady glow. Many windows. It gives you a heartwarming feeling to see these Jews who are proud. Display it. There are Jews with us, and they display it. And the fact is, of course, that an electric menorah is definitely not kosher at all. There's no question about it, because there's no lahablik. Lahablik means after with H, with fire. There's no seal, no wick. There's no oil, no wax. There's nothing kosher about it, except the appearance. So should a person use that, not for the bracha, use that for the bracha, of course. It's definitely awesome. No, there's no shayla there at all. That's no shayla whatsoever. A person who uses only that is definitely doing 100% wrong, and we're not even discussing that. Our discussion, our question is now, a person who wants to show, wants to display, even the Sumanisa, publicize the fact that the miracle is not for the Jews by displaying this menorah. If he has only a candle which burns for a half hour or so, a little over a half hour, that's too short. The candle is gone before the night even begins. You want to show us for the entire evening. People walking by to see there lives a Jew. So the question then is, are you allowed, after the candle is gone out, to put an electric menorah in the window? What's the shayla? The shayla is not a sign. So that people might think, you might say, look at this one. I know whose class he goes to. He's very fluent. If he uses that menorah, it must be kosher. So therefore, let's forget about this business with oil and wax, and let's use only electric menorah. Now, this is not a sign, because people would say, others would say, we know the halacha. What are they being taught? What is this person spreading? What is he doing? Electric menorah. Still, the Lamda would say, people get, we know he's lighting regular, but he's spread the idea. So a lot of takolas, a lot of trouble to matter. In the case of Manasayan, as it is, you could avoid Manasayan. For example, milk and meat, good. If you give the impression, if you have a meat meal, on the table you have milk in a container, blank cup, let's say, in a glass, milk in a glass. You're not going to drink it, but it's still similar. People will see that, they'll say, this is some character. What if that milk is mocha? It's an imitation milk. Looks like milk, but it's definitely carbon. No question about it. Are you allowed to leave it in a glass? The answer there is definitely not. The answer is you cannot leave it in glass. Now, where do you find mocha milk in your day? You find that there's coconuts, there's milk that comes from coconuts, which is carbon. It doesn't happen in a cow. It's not regular milk. It's part of the milk. It looks exactly like regular milk. If you take that coconut milk and pour it in a glass and put it on the table, be drunk with a meat meal, or to use with a meat meal, that is not a sign and it's awesome. And he says, what can you do about it? You take a piece of coconut, you put it on the table next to a cup. It's obvious this is where this came from. Therefore, a person using this electric lamp as a symbol, as a sign, should put next to it clear view, a regular menorah, show not this alone, but this. Both together comprise a good Jewish home. And what's so important about it? Question. Why not forget about electric menorah? Of course, he could do that. The average religious Jew says, I'll take care of the mitzvah, but the others who are not that religious take care of the publicity. That's true. And there are some who have a fierce pride they want to show also. They want to show, let this be the fact that these little lights, Zaydi Kodesh says, you take a tiny wick, tiny little flame, tiny candle like this. How much area does a candle take up? So at most that flame takes up about a half inch. That's all. We go into a room, a large-sized room, that's tens of thousands of cubic inches in area. Tens of thousands of cubic inches of area in a large room, and that room is pitch black. Now, if you have, let's say, 100,000 cubic inches, you would need, by right, you must say, you need to have 100,000 little flames for each cubic inch, each half cubic inch. Yet it is not so. You have one little half cubic inch of flame, this can overcome the blackness of 100,000 times as much area. So a little bit of light to remove a lot of blackness, a lot of darkness. This is the koyach. What does that mean? A little bit of a Jew, a little bit of kedusha, a little bit of Mesinas Nefesh on the part of a Jew. To remove and destroy all these black, filthy, tamei nations. Tumah, all tumah. Are we supposed to be fighting for them? Just like a little candle, not afraid to go into a big room and shoo away the entire blackness, the entire darkness. That's how a little bit of a Jew, this tiny light he puts in his window, well, you know what puts it, this tiny light is like the point of a dagger that reaches out and penetrates the eyes, it stabs out the eyes of a goy, because it hurts him so much to see this little light. He could have a big tree with thousands of lights, thousands of bulbs. This one little light cuts his heart out, cuts through his eyes, but not get anything. And that's why it's a mitzvah. That's why we should not belittle those who do it. We should look at these proudly. At night you look at the big building, you see all these menorahs in it, electric menorahs, even electric, of course it's nicer, like Baruch you have all regular ones. But as they go on quickly, here you have the whole evening, you look at that proudly. That little tiny orange glow. It's more powerful than all these blazing lights on Fifth Avenue, big giant stones that are nothing. There are, as the posek says, there's Yaakov Eish, there's Yosef Ahovo, there's Esav and Kash. Jew is like fire and flame, and Esav and Goy is like straw. And this fire and flame will consume that straw, she'll pound his ever to the English language. The number of candles that are lit, every person knows that every child is taught that you light one the first night, and two the second night. If you know how to add, you know how to go to number 8. Actually, it's not that simple. The Gemara, there's long discussions, like this, a debate. So we arrive at this din, and it goes to a lot of detailed controversy between Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. Everyone admits that you have to light for 8 days. There's no argument there. And that's where the agreement ends. And the question begins as to whether this should be lit by one person in a family. And 8 days again means that you have to light one candle every day for 8 days, which would be a total of 8 candles. And if you have 5 people in the family, it means that the total number of candles for that family is 8 for Hanukkah. The This question arises as to whether you have to have a separate candle for each person, or is one just the bias enough head of the house to cover for the entire family? There too is a question. The Gemara said that those who want to do a heater, unify the mitzvah, they unified by having each member of the family covered separately. Each one lights his own candle. Then we have already really unified the mitzvah. Then we have already the lighting of one candle the first day and increasing it to the 8th day. Increase each day. This is not accepted by all, because there are certain Asiatic sects, Far Asia, strange to our ways. We don't know, we won't testify that they're completely human. Their customs are ancient. They're middle of the Stone Age, because the world isn't that old, but they're trying to revert back to whatever could have been that. Their custom is to have one person in the house light the candles for all. The children do not light, the fathers don't light, it's just one single person. Whereas we have a separate minute of each person. They say that the head of the house is so great, his light emanates from him and covers the entire household. It's not necessary to have any more than that. Not only that, but in order to have a slight semblance of something resembling human, so their custom is that the head of the house lights the first candle, and then shows his kindness, his benign type of character in allowing, condescending to have the others light one candle apiece. Now, he has 8 children, of course, 9 children, first night. They can just imagine in their minds of doing it. But none of the children are given that chinuch where they can actually light their own menorah. It's a very important item for chinuch. You raise a child to many children, their roots come to them, their religion will find, and this is known, you ask most pedagogues, teachers of yeshivas, and the Torah, will find that the child is impressed by the holiday of Hanukkah more than practically any other holiday. There are more songs about it, there's more simcha about it. This is important for chinuch. The child knows he has his own menorah, to be no matter how cheap, a little tin menorah for 10 cents. He has his own candles, he becomes important. He's a Jew who's practicing religion just as much as the biggest rabbi, the biggest tzaddik. Therefore, not the proper, of course, our custom. We don't know ours is proper, maybe theirs is much higher. Our custom is to have everyone light separately every night. The difference comes in now in lighting the numbers. Of course, if you light head up more the first night to the second night and so on, you will have a total of 36 candles. Besides the Shemos, the actual Hanukkah candles. The Shemos is not holy. Finish him with the Hanukkah candles. Total of 36. And this total adds up to 36. Now how you start? 1 plus 2 plus 3. Or backwards, 8 plus 7 plus 6. Here we have the Machlekes of Menachem Mendel Schneerson. Rabbi Nachman say that you're supposed to light 1 the first night, 2 the second, 3 the third, and so on. Menachem Mendel say you're supposed to light 8 the first night, then 7, and then 6, and go down. There are different reasons given for this. Basically, the Imam is saying more accepted reason that it is counting. Point of it, you count the days we have covered so far. First day we light 1, the second we light 2. We know we have, this fits very much with what Arizal said, the holiday has come, we have it on our record. We light 2 candles, we now have 2 full mitzvahs before. The Shulchan say that we have to light candles to show, which is done, which is good. So just what's important is the holiday that's coming. The first day, they show us you light 8 candles versus There's still 8 more days to go. Second day, 7, the last day, it's just 1 day left. Elijah's born. That's the difference in Machlekes, and of course, our Psak Halacha is followed by Silo, where we light one and graduate Arizal. Maybe I'll bring this Machlekes. We explain it in their better. We'll try to discuss that more tonight. Silo, the number, order of lighting numbers. According to the Shulchan, you light 8 the first day, 7 you decrease as you go along. To the last day you light 1 candle. You find see that you increase each day. Rosenfeld says that there are 2 reasons in the Gemara about that. One reason the Gemara says is that Hashem may say according to the number of days that are yet to come, and still will say according to the days that are already completed. The other reasons are that they still will say that Malum Kaddish. As you go with Kedusha, you should always go higher. You're always adding to Kedusha. Never go down. You light less candles each day, looks like you're going down, you're decreasing in Kedusha. You have to show an increase in Kedusha. Some may say, the reason is, right, gotta get Kedusha, but you gotta give it to those days. Show that they decrease. This means that we're wiping it out. It's less and less days. They get Korei Achad. What is it? What sukkahs are different each day. It kept on decreasing. But the Maisa, Hashem may say you decrease, Hashem will say you increase. Most of us said, what's the reason for it? Because Hashem may say, Hashem was very fiery, Hashem was always very fiery, impatient, he could not tolerate any infraction, minus the diversion from the din itself. Couldn't be tolerated. Shemai was din. Hillel was chesed. Kindness. Very nice to a person. Go slow with him, have patience. So, Shemai said, Shemai held that you got to start immediately. At the 8th candles you need to give all the light you have. The highest degree of Kedusha, that's the only way to get Kedusha going. Start with the biggest Talmidim possible. Get yourself Talmidim who are very great, very holy, and you can start studying, you can start learning. Then, as time goes by, these Talmidim can bring out slightly smaller ones, lower ones, 7, 6, 5, and so forth. Eventually, your person is far away too. This is what they should say, but they say if you don't start with a real big explosive force, full power of Kedusha, you cannot get anything. See, let's say the contrary. You're supposed to direct your attention to that little tiny dot, that one candle. Little bit kudah that's left in the Jew. When it's very far away, go after him. Spend your efforts on getting him. And as you go along, you'll find that there are others that you can attach. Bring him closer, have him more close. And the Kodesh says that. Which many times, that the Har Sinai, the greatest act of all time is about to take place. The whole purpose, the reason, the Yom HaShishi, 6th day on which is completed the creation of the world. 6th day of Sivan. Shavuos, not Torah are given to the world. Without the Torah, there'd be no world. So all the world waited, the heavens and the earth, all the creation waited for this single moment. That moment came, there was no Torah. What was missing? It was the greatest cast possible, selected from all the generations, the greatest Rebbe that ever lived, all generations. So say, Arizal said to Moshe Feinstein, that you are in every generation. The Neshama is everywhere. There's no generation without a it's a part of the Neshama Moshe Feinstein. Especially beginning, Hevel, and shame. But you came out, your official emergence into this world completely as you, only at the time of not telling us that was your prime purpose. The greatest generation of all Jews was also at that time. The greatest Rebbe is the greatest time. So you had the greatest assemblage of all time possible. Stood at Har Sinai, nothing happened. Why? Because this was not that which could make the real Kedusha in heaven. What did it? Not with the greatest, but the greatest came closer. But the furthest of the furthest. Yisrael, the leader of all the evidence in the world. He came close to the Kedusha. He said, I know, true that Hashem is Gadol Mikol, I came Hashem is greater. All of a sudden, the time was right, and then he could do this. That's what Hillel says. Get that little tiny candle. Get the one that's far, the so-called Russia. Have him come close, and you'll have all the others come close too. The rest will come automatically. Because the Kedusha starts from there, that little candle that drives away the bulk of the light. You can put one candle in a room, and then add 10 candles, you'll have much more darkness driven out by the first candle than by the additional 9. It shows the importance of the first one. The first one comes to the million too. The importance of the first 10. Now, one halacha, the mitzvah of lighting a candle is to place it where it could be seen. To hide the candle, no matter how well you light it, how well you conform with the mitzvah, with the olive oil and everything, there's nothing, unless there's so many purposes to put it where it could be seen. By the door, if possible. The old days they had papers by the door, you can put it there. The wind would not blow it out, so they put it on the side of the door, opposite the window. You have first surrounded by mitzvahs. You have it on one side to the right, this is on the left. You can't put it there. You put it on the windowsill, place where it can be seen from outside, but where it's obvious, where it's visible to all passing, or all living in proximity. And this is for the sake of presuming spread. In fact, publicize the fact that it was a nest done by Hashem, and that we recognize it, we acknowledge it, we give Shabbat and take Hashem. It's to realize in our time, this is the voice. Amen. I'd welcome the time for lighting candles. True time is immediately as the stars turn, which is 4:45, or 19 minutes to 6 to be exact. That is the best time, the most proper time, and many a person should not do anything before he lights the candles. When that time comes, he's home, he should stop everything, even learning. If he's learning, he should stop learning and light the candles in. Except if he didn't have Marav yet, then Marav comes first. According to some places, some say Marav should come first. You got that Marav before, so that when the time comes for tasting a chavruta, you should have nothing that should deter you from lighting it on time. If you light it before tasting a chavruta, it's also alright, but you have to see that the candles remain burning for at least 30 minutes after tasting a chavruta. No matter when it is lit, it must remain burning at least 30 minutes after. If it's lit long after tasting a chavruta, then it's simply a question of remaining burning for 30 minutes. Notice how the did is very particular, very didactic about this month. How time plays so important part. This whole world is guided, conducted by time. Tachas Hazman. This world is beneath the rule of Hazman. Time dictates everything. Time tells us when to eat, when to go to sleep, when to travel, when to do anything, when it's light, when it's dark. Our mitzvahs too dependent upon time. You put on tefillin when it's light, stop certain tefillin after it's dark. Above the heavenly world, it's above the concept of time. It's not governed by time at all. So since this is a world of time, there must be a connection between time and the mitzvahs. Though the Torah is mitzvahs, though the Torah is above time, the Torah is a portion of Hashem himself, which is above time, yet the mitzvahs of the Torah on this world, they come down, they descend here, then they are governed by time and they're dependent upon time. These greatest of mitzvahs, mitzvah tefillin, so great as the sign, a symbol of Emunah and Hashem. So vast greatness of mitzvah, that this is done at night, and this is done on Shabbos, there's no mitzvah at all. The mitzvah of eating matzah. It's the food of Emunah, the food of refuah for the neshama. This food is eaten other than Pesach, there's nothing, it avails a person nothing. So too, all mitzvahs That's government by time. We see that the union of a mitzvah that comes down to earth, comes underneath the rule of time, it has a chashivus greater than when it is not. Because when the mitzvah was above in heaven, not governed by time, there was no actual mitzvah there. Could not be performed. Same thing holds true with all things. That's why that's the reason for the statement that Yom HaSha'achas, 1 hour of this world, 1 moment of this world is more precious than all the time of the Talmud. Because there's no time. Here you have the hour, and in this precious hour, a person can perform so much. The hour of tefillin, he performs tefillin. The hour of matzahs, the hour of lulav and esrei, the hour of sukkah, the hour of lighting the candles of Hanukkah. Therefore, this zman of lighting it should be guarded very carefully. See that the Hanukkah candles are lit this zman, and the mitzvah has shleimus. It is complete. There is leeway, of course, given to this mitzvah. A person can light before and after, as we said, but it is best that a person be particular and careful, because deeper than what is seen, far deeper is what's behind these scenes, what's behind the shot in the mitzvah. The sin is a mitzvah, and surely the Islam plays a very important part. The person will see that it's done exactly because the person lights small candles below with tremendous torches that are lit simultaneously in heaven and light up all the heavens. The person should do this mitzvah with the proper care for this night. The mitzvah is done. The actual performance of the mitzvah is the lighting of the candles. The act of lighting the candles is the main mitzvah. And therefore, that must be done in a legal manner, compliance with the details and rules of the mitzvah. For example, a minute to burn has to be at least above 12 inches. Now, if we have, for example, it's supposed to burn for a half hour, the person lights a minute below 12 inches, lights the candles. Then he fixes the minute, puts it in a place above 12 inches, and it's there for a half hour. He has a minute burning for a half hour, but he has not performed the mitzvah. Because the main part of the mitzvah is the Halacha, the lighting, lahadlik nechanika, the lighting itself. Therefore, the lighting must be done in the place where the mitzvah is the correct, its proper form. So too, also, if he put aside oil in the containers enough to burn for 10 minutes, which is not good, and he lit it. And after lighting, he added more oil to it, and he's not getting the mitzvah because the Halacha was not done properly. You have to light it with the intention, with the capability of the candles to burn for a half hour, and there wasn't enough work. So again, this must be done, the lighting must be done in the proper place, and also with the proper amount of oil. So too, if he places the candle in a spot where there's a definite draft, a wind, and he lights it there, then he moves the candles away from there. When he knows definitely that the wind would have extinguished the candles, he does not get the mitzvah. Even if he would do it by open window, close the window later, too, it is not the time of the lighting wasn't good, it would not have lasted. So without even moving the candles, and with having the proper amount of oil there, yet he still doesn't get the mitzvah because the time of lighting it wasn't proper, wasn't kosher. So, in all cases, if he happened to do that, he realized after he did it that it was wrong, he must himself extinguish the candles and then relight them in the proper place where it's kosher, but without saying a bracha. Bracha is not Yaakov, so we do not repeat the name of Hashem in the bracha. Also, in all times, a person has candles burning, the shamas, using the shamas to light the candles. If the shamas on a higher pedestal burns out faster, because let's say the heat of the lower candles makes it burn out, and then before the half hour is up, one of the other candles goes out, or is blown out by accident, he is not to blame. So he has fulfilled the mitzvah even if they were all blown out. child came along and blew them out. Less than a half hour is done with this. Yet, there's custom, meaning halacha, to relight the candles if it blew out. Accordance with din, but it would last the entire half hour. But for an accident it didn't. So legally he is putter. He did his. But it is better though, permitting to relight these candles and have them burn for at least a 30-minute period. If the candles burn for 30 minutes, then they could burn for an hour. If somebody extinguished them by accident, then he is not required to relight the candles unless he wants to do it as a he-doer. The custom is that if the candles are actually standing, then it's best to relight them, even though they did burn for a half hour, or even the oil related. But in most cases, if you still see some of them burning, especially in the case of oil, one or two go out, after the half hour is over, you don't have to keep walking over to relight the wicks. It's enough that they burned past this time, no necessity to relight them. We should be zeichet to light the candle of Hanukkah with a proper chavruta, the proper emunah, the oil, the next Hanukkah. We should be zeichet to see these two with our eyes and the Mashiach. And we mentioned that there's a halacha of ein madlikin bizer l'ner. Which means that if one of the candles goes out, extinguish one of the Hanukkah candles, and you want to relight it, so use only the shamas to relight it. What if the shamas has died? You get the old shamas, it's gone, departed, used up. There's no more shamas left, and the candles are still burning, one of them is extinguished, you want to relight that? May you take one of the candles that's lit and light and one of those that went out. That's supposed to be used for mitzvah. Still, it is ein madlikin bizer. Not only that, but there are some places who say that this applies also to the Ner Shel Shabbos. Not only to the Ner Hanukkah, but the Ner Shel Shabbos also, not to light one candle to the other, which is very customary, habitual on the part of many women, that they light one candle, they use to light the second candle. Of course, it's much lighter. The Isra of Ner is much lighter by Ner Shabbos than it is in Ner Hanukkah. By Ner Hanukkah, though, you have to always make certain that you're using a match or a shabbos or a separate candle to light the Ner Hanukkah. Do not use one of the Ners of Hanukkah for that purpose. During the entire time that the candles are lit, it is forbidden to have any pleasure from the light of the candles. Therefore, a person should not even walk into that room unless there's a bright electric light there. Now, you want to have the candles show, you turn the light off. You want to use that room for anything at all, make sure that you have a light burning, because otherwise it means you're using the light of the candles. Whatever you want to take out an article of clothing for that room. Pick up anything at all, using the light of the candles, which is definitely awesome. The Shari Tshuva brings this, that one item that is permissible to use the light of the candles for is to walk through the room where it's dark, in order not to fall. You want to see your way. If you trip over something, see there's bodies laying around, see where you're going, then you're allowed to use the light of the Hanukkah candles too, in order to see your way clear. That's a special heter brought by some person. But aside from that, a person should never use the light of the Hanukkah candles, also with the stameish. Didn't for us to use that light. Possibly tomorrow, some of Shabbos Hanukkah will discuss this in a little more detail. It is customary that in the shul they light Hanukkah candles twice a day. Once before Shabbos, and once between Mincha and Marav. We don't have a million here to do the Hamara. We do have one for Shabbos. Why we don't light candles before Shabbos here now is Shul. It's a very big question. In other words, it's not the only cash out. So you have another cash. Add that to your list of cashes. Another cash. A very thin reason. We won't go into that. Possibly it's better than if we did. In fact, I see we have a Renata here. Just needed candles. The better we have candles we can get. We just need somebody to light them. Just need to catch. Now, on Erev Shabbos, that's today. The order is, this is the part because it's important, is this Halacha L'Maisa. Arizal said that the Ikei Shulchan Aruch is those halachas which are L'Maisa. Can you get more L'Maisa than direct action in laws of Erev Shabbos Hanukkah? Lo and behold, that's what we have here today. The order of lighting candles. In the first place, according to the Rambam says that the Torah Neiris was after the Klal Tamid, which means that the Tfilas HaMincha, which is negative Karban, must precede the lighting of the candles. In most shuls, you'll find that people light the Hanukkah candles, and then they go to shul as normal. They daven mincha and married for Shabbos, which is improper. You won't say it's wrong, but it's not proper. It's not correct. It's not wrong, but it's not correct. What it is, it's a hybrid. Somewhere in between along the line. Because the din, as we said, is that you must first daven mincha before you light those Hanukkah candles. So, in many cases, there's no way to get a million. The person, in this case, has to daven mincha the yechidus Rahman al-Islam. It's best, of course, if you go to a yeshiva, and every yeshiva has a million at 2 p.m. usually, Fridays. Or better still, if you have a WrestleMania right here at 3 o'clock, Ashrei Lahem. Ashrei v'Ashrei. Careful. So this is the best way to have video at 3 o'clock before, and then you light the Hanukkah candles, and after the Hanukkah candles are lit, then the Shabbos candles. First the Hanukkah candles, so that the woman can be Yetzer also. Because if she lights the Shabbos candles first, it is already Shabbos Zohar, and how can she be Yetzer with lighting the candles if you are to be her Shaliach, messenger, to carry out it as though she did it, as though she cannot do the Shabbos Zohar. So therefore, hence, it must be, the only solution is to have the Hanukkah candles lit first, and then the Shabbos candles. Like you saw in Shabbos, tomorrow night, the procedure is, between the Hanukkah candles and the Havdalah, the procedure is, despite many places in Chabad, Amor, and so on, who seem to be leaning towards having the candles lit first. It is, though, toward the most Sefrei Kabbalah, Chassidim, that the Havdalah is said first, and then the Halacha status. Keep that in mind. That's the vinnig. The vinnig is stronger than anything else. Vinnig is first Havdalah and then Halacha status. The reason why the Shulchan Aruch says first Halacha status, very logically, is because we want to drag out the Shabbos as long as possible, and we postpone the Havdalah for later. The reason that we make the Havdalah first, and then the lighting candles the other way around, our reason is that because we want to feel that the lighting of the candles is done literally with a heter. You're allowed to make Havdalah, you're allowed to use fire afterwards. Of course, there is fire being used anyhow during Havdalah. When you're saying Atachan Tono, there are many reasons I brought why it's mutter to put it in. There's no shadow in it. Still, it's better, more comfortable. Plus, of course, have a shadow of Todi Taidim. But even Halacha L'Maisa to Menachem, if it is done, if the candles are lit in shul the way it should be, then of course nobody disputes that the candle lighting comes first, then Havdalah in shul. But if it's done at home, then Havdalah comes first, the candle lighting is done. The person makes Havdalah at the house and lights candles, he should first make Havdalah in his house. That's the Erev Shabbos and Tzoi Shabbos. And in fact, the kids are possible that way. Tzoi Shabbos, you make Abdullah first and then light candles in the house. Nice. The person is not home, and his wife lights candles. We discussed that Halacha. Best thing is to be home. This is our house. Today, for 3 o'clock, might have been about 4:15 approximately, 4:15 or 4:20. And Menachem Mendel Schneerson, not too late. Menachem Mendel Schneerson, Talmud Bavly, we're going to have a guest. We very much like to have offer the honor to the guest. We will have special thoughts for it. Probably has the outside, so we'll have him through tonight. Which is able to really celebrate the end time of Hanukkah, Chassidut, which is able to the true Hanukkah, the Chanukas, Beis Hamikdash, Chanukas Bayis Shlishi, which is the Bayis, the binyan that was built by Hashem. And by Hashem, the Bayis Shav Amlu Bainav Bayis. Bayis that was built by Hashem will be a Bayis Nitzchi. Amen. Then we come to the dinim referring to what do you call them? Referring to women. Yeah, women. Then referring to women today. Women in regard to the mitzvah of Hanukkah, mitzvah of candle lighting in Hanukkah. This is a rule that of the 613 mitzvahs, they are divided into 2 parts, mitzvah saseh and mitzvah saseh. The negative commands do not. Whenever it says do not, there are 365 do nots in the Torah, corresponding to the 365 days of the solar year, corresponding to the 365 arteries in a person that carry blood, which means you have to control the blood, person's blood being aroused to desire to sin, control it and stay put. Do not means be passive. Do not commit this act. 365 of those in the Torah. Those 365 do nots, blood is the same, male or female, man or woman, they're both the same in regard to this. They must obey all 365, except 3 laws that the woman is excused from, which are not pertain to a woman in general. Otherwise, all, aside from these 3, are the responsibility of man and woman alike. When it comes to the 248 commands, aseh, do, there they are divided into 2 categories. You have the upper category, this is aseh, she'ein hazman grama, this is aseh, she'azman grama. Mitzvah which is guided by, dictated by time, the time element. For example, mitzvah of sitting in the sukkah. Sukkah, you cannot sit in the sukkah and get the mitzvah for it if you do it on Hanukkah or on Pesach. There's a special time for it, no other time in it. Asman grama, the time is what brings about the mitzvah. Or the mitzvah of tefillin. You cannot put on tefillin any time you want. You can't put it on Shabbos. You cannot put it on at night. There's a designated, specified time for it. And so too with tzitzis, also by day and not at night. Now, these mitzvahs, which are dictated by time, governed by time, limited, restricted to time, they are mitzvahs for which a woman is exempt. Now, exempt, we once explained according to the Arizal, because the husband and wife are supposed to be one, and if they are one, these refer to very deep discussion in the Shemona Shonim. The Arizal speaks about this, that they are one sort of superficially. The endoplasm, what you would consider, or the epidermal type of oneness, outside of the body. The inside, not. If they were one, then a husband could cover for the wife with the blood too. the arteries also. So he would cover for the 365 negatives. Since it's only outside, superficial oneness, therefore he could cover only for the mitzvah saseh, which referred to the outside, to the skin, the flesh. But even those are divided into two parts. We won't go any deeper than that. It's too long a discussion. In any event, it means that a husband covers for the wife those mitzvahs that's going on. For example, a woman does not put on tefillin or tzitzis, she's covered because the husband does it for her. Just as a wife lights candles and covers the husband, so does on Friday night, so does the husband put on tefillin, which means that there's a lot of time wasted on the part of women who decide to get married late. They're looking for careers. Their careers are what bury them. Because the woman's career is to become one, to merge with, and to become the boss over her husband. That's the greatest career. Become a MRS, where the MR becomes a slave. MRS, slave of the missus. So in those cases then, where a mitzvah is governed by time, a woman is exempt. And yet here we find, in the case of Hanukkah, though this is a mitzvah that's governed by time, exact set time, 25th day of Kislev for 8 days, so a woman should be free from this mitzvah just as she's free from the mitzvah of Sukkah, yet she is required to obey this mitzvah just as much as a man. She's required to light candles or to be covered with the mitzvah by her husband, actuality, just as anybody else listening to the mitzvah. Because, why is this an exception? Because this mitzvah of Hanukkah, the miracle of Hanukkah, came about primarily through the act of a woman. There was no real hero in this story of Hanukkah. It was a heroine, which is a shame to you men. Heroine of the story was the daughter of Yochanan Kohen Gadol. Her name was Yehudis, and she very bravely risked her life to go to this tyrant who had issued these decrees against the Jews. The Jews were helpless, but they could not get to this governor, this leader. His name was Bagras. They couldn't get to him, and she offered herself to go to his palace and to entice him to a point where she could put him to sleep, and then very calmly, very cold-bloodedly, without any qualms, without any squeamishness, took his sword and just cut his head off. And picked up the head, wrapped it up very carefully, precious package, carried it back to her people, to the Jews. And when she lifted his head aloft, and they said, where's the rest of it? They saw this head, they were filled with renewed courage, and it was then they set out to battle. With this courage they defeated the Greeks. So the miracle, though, a defeat comes about, for one, because of courage, and two, because of the destroyed morale of the enemy. Nothing can destroy the morale of an army as much as the death of its leader. So when the Greeks saw that their leader was exactly one head shorter, this sort of broke them down, and they were weakened in battle, and so they were defeated. So, too, we hope to see all of our enemies beheaded, because they're not using the head anyhow. You might as well do without it. Let's hope that Israel Hashem was zecher to see this downfall of our enemies too in our time. In any event, since the mitzvah of the Nes of Hanukkah came about through a woman, therefore, in memory, all women rejoice, and they too take part in this miracle. So a woman is required to light candles. She has the mitzvah. to the extent where a woman can actually light the Hanukkah candles and cover for others. She can even cover for her husband. It's not just the husband of the house who lights, it's the master, the wife, who could light too and cover for the entire household. So if there's any friction sometimes between husband and wife, husband plays a trick on the wife plays a trick on the husband, and she lights candles before he comes home. And if she does that, he's finished for that night. He might finish her too, but he's lost the opportunity to light candles afterward, because once one of the two lights, the other is covered. Like if one foot crosses the river, the second one goes along too. Well, these are like one single body, one organism. So when the wife, if necessary, the wife could cover with the candle lighting for all the family, including her husband, only because she has an equal part, in fact a major part, in this case. However, it is customary that the wife pretends to be inferior and allows the husband to cover for her, even in this mitzvah in which she should share equally. It's a very complicated set of laws. If a husband is out of town, then who lights where, that's a long, detailed item which we can't go into if ever it happens to you. We suggest you read up on the laws referring to that. As I said, it's very complicated, and the best thing, though, is not to leave the house, not to leave town for Hanukkah. And the best thing is for all and sundry to avoid the other set of laws that are still more complicated by those who are not married, to get married and simplify matters at least as far as Hanukkah is concerned. The rest of it, nothing more complicated than that. We should be zeichet to a very happy Hanukkah, a very happy victory, Nisim, and the floys over our enemies at the coming of Mashiach. Amen.